Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
So we got to talk about this album that's rolling out May 20th, and what an incredible concept, because I feel like you took 3 separate EPs and merged them into one album with Red, Green, and Blue. How did this concept come about?
Yeah, well, it's our 30th anniversary, which was wild and crazy.
Hard to believe.
At this point in the career, we're not just looking at making more music, but making interesting stories. Right. And so it seemed like one of the coolest ways we could share more about the sort of DNA of the band and why we do what we do and how we work together was by kind of separating things. And we did play for each other, right? So, I played drums on a lot of the tracks and Taylor played organ and keyboard on a lot of the tracks, but it was done more like solo projects. And so it's 5 songs I wrote and 5 songs Isaac wrote and 5 songs Taylor wrote. And so people get to kind of hear that. And I think it will be cool when the album comes out for that to reflect on how they listen to our entire catalog of music. Right.
And you guys have a deep catalog. I mean, you've got, 7 albums, 2 Christmas albums. 3 of your albums have been in the top 20. So, a lot of people obviously remember you from your huge hit, Bop. But truthfully, with Hanson, you guys are incredible musicians and songwriters in your own right. And there's been a lot of new music since then.
Yeah, there has. I mean, thankfully, we've had the great gift of a long career, and I think deciding to start a record company, back 15 years ago, and being able to build on that's been a huge part of the story of Hanson. And not just that initial breakout, of course, is incredible and rare, but that connection to the audience and then cultivating it with the live show. A lot of times, that really strong live touring audience. That's what it comes back to. It's that real connection.
Well, and like you touched on also, you guys have had a global audience. I mean, even with that #1 hit and with your other albums that you've come out with, the #1 was #1 in 27 countries.
Right.
Kind of unheard of,
It's unbelievable. That just doesn't happen that much.
It does not happen that much. And, and we don't ever, take that for granted. I mean, the truth is we know how lucky we are and how rare that is. And so you take that and you run with it as best you can.
And by the end of this year, we're back on tour this year it's been a couple of years without, and we're so ready to be playing shows, but we'll tour in about 20 countries this year, which is just amazing to be a band that still have fans that want us to come. That's something you really want to live up to every time you walk on stage and just bring your total A game.
And the terrifying thing is we're also doing about 2 years worth of work in about 5 months.
So about 20 countries and about 96 shows or something.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the tour and it's like, you guys are really, it kicks off in Helsinki, Finland, I think, in June. And it's obviously hitting North America and Latin America. So you've got fans everywhere with your music. But, back to the Red, Green, Blue concept, I just thought, what a neat way to showcase each of your talents. Because, some of our viewers may not realize that when you guys were young, all 3 of you started out on piano. And then you kind of diversified into your other instruments and following your strengths. But also all 3 of you write songs, all 3 of you sing. So it's like with Red, Green, Blue, it's kind of a fun way where you have individual showcases without going, hey, Taylor, Isaac, I'm going off on a solo project. It's like, no, we just merged the solo project.
Yeah, it was a unique idea. I mean, it kind of been sitting around for a while, and we talked about it a couple different times, and it didn't seem like the right time to do it. But something about 30 years seemed like kind of you had the 3 thing. You're like, 3 parts. Okay. And we had originally thought that we would release these as separate EPs to kind of reinforce the kind of uniqueness of the project. Yeah. But when it was all said and done, we said, you know what, it is a Hanson project, and we are playing on each other's stuff, even though each one is deliberately kind of leading it in a solo project style way. So we kind of merged the ideas together and said, okay, well, this is the message: 3 parts, 1 band, and check out the differences between the brothers and so on.
Adding to the nature of the project too. I mean, so much of the years, especially early on, we were very, very focused on, hey, we are a unit. Don't try and break us apart. This is what we collectively we make Hanson, and that, fighting for that for so many decades. Only now, I think, are you able to begin to fan out and have that, that framing, changing the framing, because there's such a strong foundation. I mean, it's important to be challenging yourself. It's important to be like Zach said, tell new stories, So people, they don't think you're just hitting cruise control and going, well, hey, we got 7 albums. Come on.
And 2 Christmas. That's what I was thinking. It's what Hanson, I think, has done well throughout your guys' career, which once again, hard to believe 30 years, but is that you guys have always innovated and you've never really rested on your laurels of previous accomplishments with your songs and with your music. And I think Red, Green, Blue shows a confidence, in each of you. And like you said too, starting out, keeping the band together, your 3 brothers, it's a family band. And obviously the music industry sometimes tries to tear those things apart.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's like to be confident enough to come out with an album that has each of you as individual artists. It's like I was thinking this morning, it's like going, I've never seen another band do that would be bold enough to go, yeah, Jimmy, you go ahead and do yours and I'll do my 5 songs. Let's put this together. It's like, wait a minute, we're a band.
Yeah. The only example we could find, which we thought was kind of a cool connection, was Kiss. Kiss did it in 1970. They did.
I think it's 78.
78. Okay. Yeah. But, I think that's kind of cool. Like Hanson and Kiss.
Wait till you see the live show, guys. The makeup is pretty epic.
I'm just really hoping that people are going to be like, wow, Hanson is so like Kiss now. He's going to face paint.
Yeah. We have to get the full outfits for the tour.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you just gave away our Halloween costume.
I hear superheroes are big these days, so we're just going for it.
That could be a good angle too. Also, I got to say another brilliant idea was having the Hanson beer for hops. And when I was like going, whoever was marketing that idea, just brilliant. It's like going, what goes great with some great rock and roll? Hops.
Well, it's so Wim Hops is a real beer, and at Hanson Brothers Beer Company, we have been making beer, in different capacities since 2013. And it's, it was started off as partly we were kind of kidding around. Hops, what a great name for a beer. That's hilarious. And they said, well, actually, that's so stupid. It's brilliant. We have to do it.
Needless to say, I said the stupid part.
Yeah,
but and they got the brilliant part.
Turning it into, the idea of getting into the craft beer community is one of the things that we've had a lot of fun with, because the craft beer community is, very connected to the independent music world. You've got local fan bases, people that really have their story. They have this base, they have credibility in different areas. And, there's definitely a symbiotic relationship between our world of music and the craft beer world. And we have a beer festival that has been on pause for the last few years during pandemic, but, it brought those worlds together. And of course, like you said, rock and roll, craft beer, music kind of goes together pretty well.
Yeah. Well, and I was also thinking about, getting ready to interview you guys. I thought, your merch table is going to be very interesting this year with Red, Green, Blue, because you could actually have it as 3 independent artists, where you each have your own T-shirt and hats and whatever. And then you have the merged, much like Kiss, with all 3 of you on a T-shirt. Yeah. I'm just saying you could have some fun at the merch table.
No, I'm thinking you want to join the team. Are you pitching to join the team? I think there's a lot of thoughts going on. Okay, we'll talk after the show.
It is fun to see the fan base, playfully immediately jump out and go, I'm Team Red and I'm Team Green and I'm Team Blue. And that's been really fun. And to see, so we're releasing a single from each song. So the first 2 singles are out. Child at Heart is out, which is the red single. Write You a Song is out, which is the green single. And then a song called Don't Let Me Down, the blue single, my single, comes out. Yeah. And it's been really fun to see people react to that and the different sounds, the different styles.
I'm going to be really amused to hear the commentary of the difference between each single. Because the truth is, I feel like I learned a lot about myself and about us in this whole process. Yeah. And some things I kind of knew, and then some things I didn't quite expect. Like just there, you really do see the differences psychologically between each one of us in this project in a unique way. It is fascinating to kind of get a little bit of a glimpse into the, minds and hearts of each of us as individual artists in this way. So you see it even more exaggerated, I think, probably in the actual music videos even.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Exaggerated is one word for it.
Well, but it's so much fun too that you guys are launching individual singles from each section also, because typically, we all know, you have like 1, 2, 3 singles that come off an album, but with the individual Red, Green, Blue, you're able to do a single from each, which I think showcases each of your talents. And also it shows more independently, I think, your influences of music. And I think that's fun.
Well, we also recognize that we live in a social media world. You know, you live in an internet of what's happening at the moment kind of place. And we, did a unique thing last year where our album Against the World, which was supposed to come out in 2020, was delayed by COVID. And so we decided to kind of space it out and do a song a month for 7 months, which was really cool. What I think is cool about it is that it allows for people to discover the band, not only in unique ways, but also to continually have month by month something special and different that people are talking about. And it reinforces, the great, song that Child at Heart is. And hopefully, people are into, the Write You a Song single. When they hear Don't Let Me Down, they go, wait, oh, that's cool. Wait, the other song, so it allows for people to kind of come at this band in several different ways.
Well, and I think what that's really talking about is that it's not just about songs, it's about stories, right? And to tell this story, you have to see and hear those 3 different choices put next to each other, right? It is such a cool experiment to take 3 guys who have grown up together, so many of the same musical influences, and then go, how do they diverge? What does it sound like? What are those slightly different choices?
And what's not on the record, which is one of the things that I think is really interesting.
What it sounds like when we're all writing together.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, again, fans will make up their own mind, and going back, this is setting up to do a tour. I think the fact that it's combining, yes, here's an album, you hear all these differences, and then to coordinate it with a real tour where everybody gets to come together. I think that's the magic sauce of the combination, because we're respecting our history while pointing people to something that's refreshing and hopefully different. But like Isaac was saying, there are things that you don't hear on this that you would hear in some records. And I think, the vocal arrangements are a little different. Honestly, there's probably less R&B, Motown, and this whole record.
It's a little bit more introspective in certain cases.
Yeah. I consciously made a decision not to do as many layered harmonies on things.
Yeah. We love genre bending in our little ways. We feel like oftentimes when you listen to our records, there's an eclecticness, which is that combination of Isaac and Zach and Taylor, how they come together. And so I think if you like our band, then you're going to love this record, because it's just us kind of turned up in all these different ways to, max volume.
We're painting with bolder and brighter colors.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's so great to have the 3 of you on the show. Taylor, Isaac, and Zach of Hanson. Red, Green, Blue, the new album comes out May 20th, and you guys are going to have an incredible worldwide tour. Really appreciate you coming to the show. Love the music. Can't wait to hear more tracks off this album too.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.